What's up, guys? Welcome to the video. My channel is College Football Frenzy, back with another video, and today I'm going to be breaking down my college football playoff and New Year's Six Bowl predictions. So as I said a few weeks ago when I did the first one of these videos, I'm going to be doing these videos every couple weeks. I'm very excited to release my new predictions for the college football playoff. A lot has changed since 2 weeks ago. A few conferences have joined the discussion, like the Pac-12 and Mountain West. They are going to have seasons, even if they're very short, they are going to have seasons, so that should be interesting. On top of that, obviously there's been a lot of upsets throughout college football. I'm sorry for my inconsistent upload schedule. I would have loved to upload more with everything that's been going on, but I just have been very busy. But I'm going to try to upload a little bit more. But anyway, yeah, it's been a crazy season so far. A ton of upsets have happened in both of the last 2 weeks. Oklahoma, probably the biggest shock of them all. Right now, 1-2. I cannot believe that in a shortened season, Oklahoma is 1-2. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. So that is absolutely crazy. And of course, there's been plenty of other upsets. So things have definitely shaken out in my predictions. I might need to do these videos every week if things keep going like this. If we have like a 2007 type season, then I'll probably do one of these every week because my New Year's Six Bowl predictions will shake up a lot. But for now, it's probably going to be every 2 weeks. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting out with the playoff, then I'll get to the other New Year's Six Bowls later on in the video. So for the playoff, all right, I understand it's a lot to take in. Currently, I have all 4 teams going undefeated. I'm very confident in the first 3 teams. Alabama, they should be the number 1 seed going in the playoff. I think they go undefeated in the SEC. I really think their SEC schedule is pretty favorable compared to some other teams in the SEC, and I think they get the job done. I understand Georgia and Florida both look good in the SEC, but I don't think they have enough to take down Alabama. So I think Alabama currently is going to be in an undefeated number 1 seed going into the playoff. Number 2, Clemson, again, a team that could possibly lose. There's a couple tough games, but I think would go undefeated. I really do think Clemson's going to go undefeated. I think this weekend they're going to blow out Miami. I think they've got a really good football team this year. They should be very good. I really do think they're going to go undefeated going into the playoff. They're a strong team, strong coaching staff. They look good. They're led by a Heisman frontrunner in Trevor Lawrence. This is a very good football team. I have them at number 2. Number 3, Ohio State. So Ohio State at 3, I think they go undefeated. They're just at 3 basically because, of course, they only can play 9 games at max. So obviously they would not be ahead of Alabama or Clemson, who's played at least a couple more games than them. So I have them at 3, facing Clemson in a rematch. That should be an interesting one. Ohio State's going to be a pretty good football team this year. Shaun Wade obviously opted back in. Last video that I did, he hadn't opted back in yet, so that's a big thing for Ohio State. On top of that, again, their offense, like I said, the last video, looks great. Justin Fields, definitely a great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. So Ohio State's going to be good. And number 4, I have Cincinnati as a little bit of a sleeper team to make the playoff, a little bit of a surprise. Cincinnati's been doing good the last couple of years. They were ranked last year. They had a pretty good year the year before that as well, I believe. So Cincinnati under Luke Fickell's been doing a pretty good job so far. I'm excited to see how they do this year. They're currently 3-0. They look like they're going to be in control of the American Conference, with Memphis not being as good and UCF losing last night against Tulsa. So a lot of stuff has changed. And when I say last night, I'm recording this video on a Sunday, just so you guys know. So a lot of stuff has definitely changed in the American. I really thought UCF was going to probably be the front runner to win the conference, but after what happened on Saturday night, I think probably Cincinnati is the front runner, and I do think they can go undefeated and maybe sneak into the playoff in a year like this where the Pac-12 isn't playing many games and where the Big 12 is in absolute chaos. So 4 undefeated teams make the playoff. That's never happened before. However, the last 2 years we did have 3 undefeated teams each season make the playoff. So 4, it could happen. It definitely could happen. But right now, yeah, those are my 4 teams. But again, it could be a crazy season. Now, currently, I have Alabama and Clemson winning their matchups. So I have 2 teams from Ohio making the playoff, but they both lose. Starting out with Alabama versus Cincinnati, I think this is definitely an easy matchup to pick. Alabama, I just think, is much more talented than Cincinnati. Even if Cincinnati goes undefeated, it doesn't necessarily mean they're nearly as good as the other 3 teams in the playoffs. So I think Alabama easily destroys Cincinnati. Not much of a problem, just more talented. Luke Fickell's a good coach, but just does not compare to Nick Saban as a head coach. So I think Alabama rolls here, wins this one very easily. This probably will be the Sugar Bowl because the number one seed usually gets to have an influence over where they want to play, and I assume Alabama would want to play close by down south. So I would imagine they would want to play at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. In the other matchup, most likely would be the Rose Bowl, Clemson, Ohio State. We've seen this one a lot. These two teams obviously are very talented, very good. They're definitely going to put on a close matchup if they play again. I pick Clemson in a close one. I'm an Ohio State fan, but I pick Clemson just because I just rely. I think Trevor Lawrence is overall just the better quarterback to rely on. Even if Justin Fields is so great, I feel like Trevor Lawrence can get the job done all the time. And Dabo Swinney, obviously, such a great head coach. Ryan Day is a great head coach too, but Dabo Swinney, he's proved himself over his tenure at Clemson to just be a absolutely fantastic head coach. So I think it's very close, but I give Clemson the edge, but this could definitely go either way. I would definitely favor the winner over Alabama in the championship game, but it could go either way in this matchup, but I'm going to take Clemson here. In the championship game, like I said, I would favor the winner of Ohio State and Clemson over Alabama. I'm taking Clemson to win the national championship. Obviously, they lost the national championship last year. They're going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think they get it done against Alabama. Of course, Alabama and Clemson have played in the national championship a lot against each other. Only a few years ago they played, and Clemson absolutely destroyed Alabama. I think this time it will be a close one, but I still think Clemson gets it done overall. I just think Trevor Lawrence is just too good of a quarterback for that Alabama defense to handle, and it's not a discredit to the defense or anything like that, but just Trevor Lawrence is just so good in my opinion. So I think it's close, but I'm going to stick with Clemson. And on top of that, Bryce Young, Mac Jones. Mac Jones looked decent, he looked pretty good thinking about it the last couple of weeks, but I still don't know if he'll be able to compete against that Clemson defense. So I'm going to favor Clemson here, but it could definitely be very close. But Clemson is my national champion. All right, moving on to the Orange Bowl, Notre Dame versus Georgia. So originally, a couple weeks ago, I had Notre Dame versus LSU. LSU obviously lost to Mississippi State. That was a big shocker. I think this time I'm going to put Georgia in there. I do think Georgia's a very good football team. I think they lose to Alabama twice. I think they lose once in the regular season and lose again in the conference championship game and just missed out on the playoff. They definitely would not get into the playoff if they lost to Alabama twice, especially if Alabama was number one seed. A, just because we've already seen them play Alabama twice, and B, just because we know Alabama would be the better team, so they wouldn't get in. This would definitely be an interesting matchup, but I would definitely favor Georgia, but Notre Dame can definitely make things interesting. I think they could definitely be a contender in the ACC this year. Some people are saying they can make the playoff. It is definitely a possibility, but I'm going to say they just missed out on the playoff, kind of like Georgia. I think this is a close matchup, but I do favor the Dogs here. All right, Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma State I have as the Big 12 champion. Currently, they are clearly in control of the Big 12, obviously with Oklahoma with 2 conference losses, Texas losing to TCU on Saturday. Both those teams aren't looking very good right now. On top of that, Oklahoma and Texas play each other this upcoming week. So one of them is going to lose again. So Oklahoma State clearly has got a good grip on the Big 12 right now. I don't think they go undefeated, but I do think they win the conference and play Auburn. I think Auburn, despite the loss last night, is still a very good football team. I think they're competitive, maybe a 2 or 3 loss team overall in the SEC, and I do think they get into a near 6 bowl game against Oklahoma State. I think it's close. I probably would favor the Tigers here, but it's definitely competitive. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard's a great running back. He won't be easy to stop for the Tigers, but I would favor Auburn in a close one. All right, Peach Bowl, another interesting matchup here. Penn State versus Florida. This should be a pretty good one. These two teams are definitely contenders in their conferences. They're both strong teams. Penn State, Micah Parsons obviously opted out. He decided not to opt back in. That's a big loss, obviously. He was a key part of that defense. He's going to go very, very high in the draft. So that was a tough loss for Penn State, but they're still overall a pretty good team. I think they'll have a pretty good offense and a decent defense. Florida, on the other hand, their offense looks absolutely fantastic. fantastic. They've done great the last couple games. Their defense has a few questions, but their offense looks great. I think this will be another good football game. I would favor the Gators here, but again, one that could go either way. In the Fiesta Bowl, this would kind of act as a Rose Bowl substitute. Oregon, the Pac-12 champion, they could go 7-0 and still not make the playoff. That's a possibility. Although I do think they might lose once in conference play, but I still do think they win the conference championship game. And Michigan, of course, they have a tendency to not do good late in the season and choke some big games. However, I do think they are maybe a 1 or 2 loss team going into this game. Of course, they lose to Ohio State. Maybe they lose to either Minnesota or Penn State on top of that, but I still think they get into a New Year's Six bowl game with the way things are going. This would be probably one of the more one-sided matchups. I would definitely favor Oregon this one. I think their defense is very good. I think they've got a strong offense for the most part. There's a few questions at quarterback, but I still would definitely favor Oregon in this one. Michigan, again, Jim Harbaugh definitely isn't a terrible coach, but he just does not get the job done in big games, it feels like. So I would favor Oregon, but I definitely do think Michigan can at least make a New Year's Six bowl game. And as for other teams I was thinking about putting into these bowl games, of course you gotta still think Oklahoma. If they run the table and make the Big 12 championship game, they have a chance. Maybe Texas beats Oklahoma next week and maybe they win the Big 12. You also have North Carolina, who currently is undefeated. They have a chance, and there's a few other teams on top of that. I'm still not very confident in Miami. They haven't played many very good teams yet. I know they're ranked high, but they have not impressed me yet. They will have the chance to do that on Saturday night when they play Clemson, obviously. But right now, I still don't think Miami has a great shot at making a New Year's Six bowl. They have a long way to go. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for joining in. Please make sure to like and subscribe, check out my other videos, and have a good day.